So it just occurred to me that I can make YouTube videos of book reviews, and I thought I would just do one off the top of my head, off the top of my shelf, and see what happens. So this is Predatory Thinking by Dave Trott. Dave Trott was a copywriter and creative director at some of London's most high-profile ad agencies, and I can't remember precisely why I bought this book. I guess um, I liked. I probably got a chance to flip through it before I bought it, and I liked that the writing was very um, intense, very sharp. It reminded me a little bit of Seth Godin. It reminded me a little bit of David Ogilvy. It felt quite cheeky, creative. So I have a bunch of pages folded. So anyway, this book is like there are 10 parts, and it's mostly, I believe, aggregated blog posts. It's like, so he has a blog. Dave Trott has a blog, and he posts like these very short posts that are kind of one-liner, lots and lots of one-liners in the post. And I don't know, I like having this book around. I feel like it's very easy to start reading, and you can flip through and pick something that is, it's kind of like if you're stuck, it's a good thing to get unstuck. And he makes all these kind of bold propositions that don't seem so life is a zero-sum game. No, it's not, but I want to see what he says, right? How's he going to make his case? And he talks about, he's a good storyteller, so I think he tells lots and lots of little stories, and I think that's something I want to learn how to do better. So he talks about, here's a story about Mussolini and Italy, and the planes that were fighting, the Polish, the Italian bombers, and the other countries' bombers. And it's just interesting how he tells stories. 90% of advertising doesn't work. My favorite story in this whole book is the one where he talks about how a reporter was interviewing a scientist, and the scientist was telling him about neutrinos, which have, so neutrinos, as in aggregate, they have more mass than matter in the known universe, I believe. And so the reporter was like, okay, but why should I care? What's the point? And the scientist said, it means that we are ghosts in someone else's universe. And Dave Trott pointed that out as an example of good writing. And yeah, I like that. Here's a story about the plumber and the ad man. Some plumber came along and helped some guy, and he insisted not on charging, and he insisted on not charging and said that, just call me the next time you need a plumber. And he pointed out that he is building a brand, earning trust. Yeah, it's just it's not. My mother-in-law belongs to a Taoist temple in Singapore. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like reading this again. There's so much little bits of good storytelling that I want to practice this. So here's a thing about like football. Tony Adams was the captain of Arsenal, one of the best defenders they ever had. And then he talks about how he said that he trusted his teammates, and he knows how the different parts of the team operate and what the job is. It's just very compelling storytelling. It's very simple writing, very short paragraphs. It's like sentences, and technology is a tool. Game-changing thinking. 100 years ago, Hermann Hesse wrote Steppenwolf. At the end, the main character gets a chance to go back and live his life over, to do all the things he wished he'd done. And, you know, we'd all like a chance to go back and do things, right? What would our life have been like? Is a question that fascinates us. Imagine if we could tap into those feelings for advertising. And he talks about a Gatorade ad that does that. And what he liked was that it was an idea to trigger a bigger idea. Oh, it was an ice hockey match. Oh, this is a cool story. So there's an ice hockey match in the late 90s that was between two high schools, full of intense passion and rivalry. And one player was tackled, had an injury, like severe injury, covered in blood. And so they cancelled the game. And for 15 years, the locals still argue about who would have won. And so what Gatorade did is they gave the exact same players the chance to replay the game. The men are now in their mid-30s. Some are overweight and sedentary. Actually, all of them are out of condition. They gave them 3 months to train, had them do a rematch, and they got back in shape. And then eventually they played the game. And you know, he just describes how that's a great ad for Gatorade to help you think about what it's like to regain energy. And yeah, it's just you know, so again, it's such a, I read that and I'm like, you know, you should be thinking bigger about the experiments you're doing. You should be thinking about stories you can be telling. So, you know, this is like, of all of the books that's on my shelf right now, this was for some reason the book I wanted to start with. I think because I knew that picking it up would, to some degree, give me a sense of excitement, a sense of wanting to do more of these things, wanting to pick up more books. So, yeah, this as a first book review video, it's not a very good one. I wasn't referring from notes or anything, but I recommend it. I like it. So if you like my Twitter feed, I imagine you would like this book, Dave Trott's Predatory Thinking. Done.